Later, in a subsequent conversation, about 24 hours later, he told me it could have been as much as $3 billion to buy back the shares from CZ. But Binance is a massive, unregulated global monopoly now. They put FTX out of business.
Hello and welcome to another episode on Wealthy Value. The drama and revelations continue, and Kevin O'Leary, who is a close associate of Sam Bankman-Fried, who has now been arrested for the multi-billion-dollar fraud that occurred in FTX, reveals that the Binance CEO got $3 billion from Sam. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button now. So let's go over to Mr. Kevin O'Leary.
You ask me why it went bankrupt, go to the last week. All of a sudden, in social media, CZ is asking for another $500 million. He wants to do a block trade of FTT, or the proprietary token of FTX. Wants it converted back to fiat. Why would you put that out there? You know it's going to push down the pressure. It's going to push down the value of that coin dramatically, and that's exactly what happened. Every trader knows that if you have a large block trade, you go negotiate a clearing price with other buyers and you do the transaction. In my view, my personal opinion, these two behemoths that own the unregulated market together and grew these incredible businesses in terms of growth were at war with each other. And one put the other out of business intentionally. Now, maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there's nothing wrong with love and war. But Binance is a massive, unregulated global monopoly now. They put FTX out of business. Now, lots of other reasons, I'm sure, but that's my personal opinion. That is what Sam Bankman-Fried told me in terms of where the assets went. Why should we care? Single reason. I'm a shareholder. You tell me the two largest shareholders do a transaction together, that's a related party transaction. I'm not sure that's okay. Maybe I want a Madoff clawback on those proceeds.
Some days before his arrest, Sam Bankman-Fried, the disgraced former CEO of now-defunct FTX International, claimed that Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao had played him all along with the aim of eliminating him as a competitor. It should be recalled that SBF had trusted the Binance CEO to cover him up in a bailout when the FTX crypto exchange ran into liquidity problems because Sam and his team had used their customers' funds in leveraging and lost most of it. The whole relationship between these two large crypto exchanges really calls to question the type of operations they run and if there's more we should be worried about. Sam had, in a tweet he posted on November 10th, suggested that CZ was out to get him and he had fallen for his tricks. His tweets read, "At some point I might have more to say about a particular sparring partner, so to speak, but you know, glass houses. For now, all I'll say is, well played, you won." Mr. O'Leary has more to say about it.
Every global platform, the #1 prize is to be regulated in the U.S. market, the #1 financial market on earth, period. Now, when you talk about other money center banks or other financial services industries that want to do business in the U.S., they must disclose their worldwide operations. They are scrutinized by the rules we already have in place. A coordinated effort between the Canadian regulator, the U.S. regulator, the ADGM in Abu Dhabi, the regulators in Singapore, basically laying out the ground rules for any entity that wishes to do business in the U.S. or any of those jurisdictions, solves this problem. If Binance is not willing to, and you started by talking about them, disclose, and the reason that Sam Bankman-Fried claims he spent $3 billion was that he could not get the regulators to approve the fact that Binance owned 20% of their platform. CZ was not cooperative with any of those regulators. He was shut out of those markets, and he realized the prize was to get regulated for institutional capital. Just having 4 or 5 markets coordinate, as we do already in other securities, solves this problem in perpetuity. And all these regulators talk to each other. I've been to Abu Dhabi. I've talked to the ADGM. I seek a license there. And I've done the same in Canada. I'm an investor in the license there. These are long-term, very sound structural concepts, but it needs a coordination. And in one phone call, we could solve this problem.
Binance was one of the early investors in FTX. The CEO, CZ, had bought a controlling share of the crypto exchange through seed funding in 2019. Fast forward to 2021, Sam Bankman-Fried starts buying back his shares from Binance, and early in 2022, he revealed in an interview with Decrypt that his partnership was finally over with Binance and CZ. All this while the exact transactions between Sam and CZ were shrouded in secrecy. Not much was known about the specifics of the buyouts and at what periods these were done exactly. Mr. O'Leary claims that CZ had a 20% stake in FTX, and his aim was to use this to crash the exchange so Binance could gain market dominance.
After my accounts were stripped of all of their assets and all of the accounting and trade information, I couldn't get answers from any of the executives in the firm, so I simply called Sam Bankman-Fried and said, "Where is the money, Sam?" He said he had been refused access to the servers. He no longer knew. I said, "Okay, let's step back. This is a simple case in my mind of where did the money go?" And I said, "Sam, walk me back 24 months. Tell me the use of proceeds of the assets of your company. Where did you spend it?" And then he told me about a transaction that occurred over the last 24 months, the repurchase of his shares from Binance, his competitor. I didn't know this at the time, but at some point, CZ or Binance, who runs Binance, purchased 20% ownership in Sam Bankman-Fried's firm for seed stock. And then, over time, and I asked him, what would compel you to spend $2 billion was the number he was giving me at that time. Later, in a subsequent conversation, about 24 hours later, he told me it could have been as much as $3 billion to buy back the shares from CZ. I asked him, what would compel you to do that? Why wouldn't you keep your assets on your balance sheet? And why would you offer this to just one shareholder? He said, because every time we went to get licensed in different jurisdictions, because you must understand the prize of crypto is to get regulated. For all the talk we say about Bitcoin and everything else, no institutions own this. I work for the sovereign wealth and pension plans. They don't touch this stuff because it's unregulated. Between these two, let's call them frenemies, because they obviously were potentially the two largest shareholders in the firm, they had a disagreement. They had a falling apart. Apparently, according to Sam Bankman-Fried, CZ would not comply with the regulators' request in these different geographies, these different jurisdictions, to provide the data that would clear them for a license. He withheld it, according to Sam Bankman-Fried. The only option the management and Sam Bankman-Fried had was to buy him out.
In 2021, FTX Trading Limited raised $900 million in its Series B seed funding. While this was big news because this was the biggest investment any crypto company had ever received, it was even more astonishing that FTX had moved from a valuation of $1.2 billion to $18 billion in just a single year. With Sam's worth now significantly over that of CZ, he decided to buy him out. Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao told Forbes that while he was happy for FTX, he would no longer be an investor with the company. Kevin O'Leary is claiming now that part of the missing money had gone to paying CZ, but there's a hole in this claim. CZ was not paid in cash. Rather, he was paid a huge chunk of the deal in FTT tokens. There is a difference. You see, what caused FTX to collapse was not the availability of FTT tokens. Rather, it was the exchange's inability to provide flat liquidity to its customers. So, if SBF and Mr. O'Leary claimed that buying CZ out was what caused FTX to lack funds, then there's a problem with this claim. It takes us back to the question, where did the money go? Is CZ truly playing a game? If yes, what is his endgame? This promises to be interesting, so be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on to keep up with the updates. But until next time, we'll see you in the next video.